Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Robeast Reviews, and I am your host, Robeast. Today's going to be a quick episode, just kind of a vlog style episode, kind of getting my thoughts out there about Masters of the Universe Origins, and more specifically, fan community reaction to Masters of the Universe Origins, and also how it kind of affects toy collecting as a whole and the future of toy collecting. So I will try to make this brief, but essentially, basically since Mattel announced the line in, I believe it was 2019 San Diego Comic-Con, as soon as Mattel made that announcement, I was excited and I was really on board. To me, it was the right call. Everything about it, the aesthetic, the choice to make it kind of an homage to that vintage 5.5 style, but with the added modern articulation, getting it back more specifically and more importantly onto store shelves at the retail level, at affordable price point. I thought all of that was great and the right decision. Not everybody did. I think the fan community was pretty split between people who were excited for the line and saw the potential, and then people who thought it was the wrong decision on Mattel's part, and most importantly, probably wanted them to continue, or at least allowing Super 7 to continue with the Masters of the Universe Classics line. A line that had been going on for nearly a decade, and a line that was pretty much nearing its end, its inevitable conclusion. That at the point that Super 7 was, when basically Mattel took the license back, Super 7 was doing... They were doing it characters that only had card art and were basically an amalgamation of previously used figures. And they were homages to characters that Mattel was going to produce basically at the end of the life of the original 82 Masters of the Universe line. They were basically giving us every version we could possibly have had at that point. Both at the classic style and also bringing back the original 5.5 style figures, but just with, they were doing the Filmation style characters in the classics style, then they were doing them at, the vintage style. So, the old He-Man figures, but to look more accurate to the Filmation style cartoon, that whole thing. So, there wasn't much, Super 7 could do more at that point, but they were really close to the end. And I think there's a few key pieces that, diehard Masters of the Universe collectors really were hoping that Super 7 could finally, do and get out there. But, and I can see that. I can definitely see that. In fact, I think a lot of people were sort of, can't you do both? Can't you continue with allowing Super 7 to do the classics line, or, continue to do what they were doing, and then also, having Mattel do the line of Origins at the retail level, at the, the retail chain store level. But, those things, there's brand confusion and different things that go into play there. But ultimately, like I said, I'm not only was I excited for the line, I'm still excited for the line. I'm a big fan of what they're doing. To me, they hit me in that sweet nostalgia spot while offering more playability and more posability. And, if you're a toy photographer, which I am not, but I think it's cool. And if you are, obviously, that added articulation allows for more dynamic photos. But, I've been a Masters of the Universe fan basically since day one. I still remember the very first toy commercial that came out. I was 4-ish years old, and it blew my mind, and I was hooked on day one. Something about the aesthetic and the vibe, and it was the toys, not the cartoon, that specifically got me hooked. And I have a pretty extensive vintage collection. It's nowhere near complete, and I'm okay with the fact that I will probably never have 100% complete vintage line. I know very rare chances I will ever own a vintage Megator or Titus or, some of those, very hard to find end of the line figures. But I'm always a fan. But I actually had stopped. I'd fallen out of collecting for a few years. I had gotten married. We decided to move to the Bay Area with no job, no place to live, no plan. So at that point, collecting toys seemed a little not as big of a priority, especially having nowhere to put them. I didn't have a home to put my toys in at that point. which really sucked because it coincided with the launch of Classics. I do love Classics. I think it's an incredible toy line. In fact, I think it's probably one of the best toy lines ever. What both Mattel and then later Super 7 was able to do, those Four Horsemen sculpts, I think it's probably one of the greatest toy lines ever produced, period. But there's a lot about that line that wasn't so great, and mainly the availability of those figures. The price point, the $30 price point, $30 and above price point being one issue, but more importantly, the fact that they were Matty collector only, and then their scarce availability on the secondary market, and then eventually the exorbitant prices that a lot of those early figures go for. In fact, if you don't have a vintage Fisto, a Masters of the Universe Classics Fisto figure, the first, classic style one, that's a $500, $600 figure now in the secondary market. So if you don't have one, good luck. And I think that's the thing, and that's why I'm a fan of Origins, is because for people who maybe missed out on it, or maybe even people who weren't even aware of Masters of the Universe as a brand, who maybe now see them on the toy shelves, can start collecting. And here's the thing. Toys are going to die if they don't reach a new audience. The guys in their late 30s, 40s, and above, they're not going to be buying toys forever. But we are the last generation of toy buyers. Kids, as we all know, are not buying toys. They're playing video games. They are, they're doing anything but buying toys. My own son really doesn't. He likes Lego and stuff, but that's not his first priority. And ideally, when Mattel launched this line, the idea of having these figures on toy shelves, which is really important. These were figures that were and are intended to be available at the store level, not the specialty stores and comic book stores, not online exclusives, in stores where somebody who's never seen them before can find them on the toy shelf and buy them and discover the toy line, discover the property. And, obviously with Mattel announcing the live action film and then also the subsequent 2 Netflix series, obviously they have a plan for this line to reach a new audience. And I think that's amazing. I support that wholeheartedly. A lot of figure collectors don't. A lot of the guys my age, the guys who've been buying, guys and gals, the guys and everybody, all the people who've been buying the toys from day one and grew up with the nostalgia, they want everything to cater to them. And if it doesn't cater to them, they hate it. I guess that's a point of view I can understand. But here's the thing. If you really care about this property, if you really want this thing to continue to exist, you should be excited that new fans will discover this property. Perfect example would be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That is a toy line that has basically existed in some form of another almost annually since its inception as a toy line, since Playmates, for the very first Playmates line, and then even, obviously as a comic before that. But at this point, Nickelodeon, who owns the license, they're smart enough to understand that the current audience it has will someday die or move on, and they need to keep creating a new audience, and so they keep reinventing it. That's why every few years you get a new cartoon and a new style, new character designs. And inevitably you have a giant backlash of quote unquote, the real fans or the quote unquote diehard fans who balk at it, who turn their nose up at it and, basically complain that it's not the Turtles that they love. And I get that. I as somebody who has their own opinion and their own tastes, I get it. For example, I hate the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film designs. I think they're gross and ugly. I think, they don't look good. Not that they don't look like good Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I just don't think they look good as character designs, period. They're overly complex, overly designed, murky designs. The new animated style ones, they're not for me either. They're a little goofy. But guess what? It's not for me. It's meant to entice kids, to get a new generation of fans into the toy line, and that is awesome. That is what we should all want. We should want that property, if we care about it, to exist. Because inevitably these toy lines are always going to cater to both new audiences and the loud, bemoaning, diehard fans. They will always throw us a bone. We will get those retro style figures. Kenner's done it. Mattel has done it. Hasbro has done it with multiple toy lines. So you're going to see, if you care about that property, you will still be catered to, I promise. But if we do not keep creating fans, the toys and properties, these IPs that we like, are going to die. And I'm all for toy companies taking a chance and redesigning. Do I have to be a fan of it? No. I think by now, if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, you've seen those leaked, I think it was an investors meeting, of the 7-inch toy line that Mattel is doing in support of both the 2 new Netflix series. One is I think the Kevin Smith. It's sort of a direct sequel to the old Filmation and sort of wrapping up that storyline. There are those figures, and then the new sort of anime influenced one that's going to be a new story reimagining for kids. I don't like either one of them. I think the sort of new anime style ones are garish and ugly and really over the top. That's a personal thing. I think modern design sometimes loses. I think there's this weird choice in modern design that if you keep adding details and over design things, is going to be more realistic or modern, and I think that's stupid. I think we've lost the economy of design. That's a whole separate topic. But either way, even if I don't like them, that's fine. It's not for me. If other kids get into it and embrace it, and that means Masters of the Universe continues to grow organically and continues to be a thing, awesome. I'm all for it. And look, if you don't have to like everything, but what you should be doing is, if you don't like something, then you just don't support it. And I mean that financially. There are collectors out there who feel like just because it has that branding, it's whatever it is, Star Wars, Masters of the Universe, Transformers, that they have to collect it. Otherwise, God forbid, they have an incomplete collection or whatever. Or even more reasonably, which I think is more modern, which is the concept of this is going to be a financial gain for them in future. The speculation, the financial speculative aspect of collecting toys, that's the wrong thing. If you continue to do that, that means you are financially supporting something that you don't care about, that you don't like. That's giving toy companies the wrong idea. So buy the things that you like because you like them. Support the things financially that you want to continue to see. You see a lot of fans online bitching and moaning, and Hasbro has those Hasbro Pulse Q&A sessions, and then it becomes just a shit show of complaints. But look, you can complain about something all day long, but they're going to go where the money is, where the sales are. So, the most democratic thing about the toy collecting community is that you buy the things, you support the things financially that you care about or that you want to see more of. So yeah, I have more thoughts on this, and we'll definitely be getting more into MOTU Origins. But I just wanted to kind of throw my support behind the brand. I think I'm all excited for it. Again, it's definitely not, I have my own issues with the toys. I don't think they're perfect. I could nitpick things all day long. And there's nothing wrong with criticism. I think critical thinking, critical thought, constructive criticism is how toy companies, how toy lines grow, how they adapt, how they get better, how they improve, and also how things, grow larger and reach a larger audience is, by constructive criticism. Some things maybe need to be addressed. That's fine. I'm not above criticism. I don't think criticism is inherently a bad thing. But what I do think is a bad thing is hating for the sake, not recognizing that you're hating something that's not intended for you, that you're bemoaning that something exists that has the audacity to exist despite you not wanting it to. And that's not helpful, and it's hurting the toy collecting community because it's stopping toy companies from being able to reach new audiences. And again, this is a much larger conversation that I'm sure this channel will get into. But I wanted to just address it real quick. I should say I was a member of quite a few different social media groups, Masters of the Universe, and different toy collecting communities. I've had to take a step back from a lot of them because they've become very, very negative, very toxic, where it's basically a bunch of grown men bitching and complaining, almost like outdoing each other to see who can be the most, angry about these toys. And it's not why I joined those groups. Whether it's that or the, scalpers trying to make, money off of their fellow collectors. And it's just not why I joined those groups. So I had to take a step back. And that's sort of why I decided to make this video now, just because I have been entrenched in a few social media groups that I literally just recently quit or stepped away from just because I couldn't take the toxicity anymore. But again, we'll revisit this topic. I just wanted to address it now. And there's more to say about Masters of the Universe Origins specifically. In fact, I'm very excited. Any day now, I should be getting my Castle Grayskull, which I'm definitely very excited about. When Pixel Dan made his video a couple weeks ago of his unboxing of Castle Grayskull, I couldn't wait for mine. It felt like a 4-year-old again. So yeah, I'm very excited for this toy line. Is it perfect? No. But I think with fan feedback, I think it will continue to get better. But I'm excited to see where the toy line goes. To be honest, with the speed and volume that these figures are starting to get released, where it's wave after wave after wave, I don't know how much longer Mattel is actually planning with this line. I said earlier about how Mattel had the idea of having these at store shelves for to maybe creating new markets. Well, obviously, if they're not on the toy shelves, if diehard collectors and scalpers aren't buying 600 versions of Scareglow, they won't exist at the store level. But I don't know if with the announcement of these 7-inch lines, if Mattel is going to basically move forward with those figures and sort of abandon Origins at some point, because again, they're really not giving any breathing room between these waves. But again, that might have been the changeover from the Walmart exclusives of 2020 to the wider release of 2021. I don't know. Maybe that's involved. But either way, these figures are coming out quick and furious. And, which I'm cool with. I will buy them all. I'm as committed. I didn't get the San Diego, or the PowerCon exclusives because it was actually folly. I thought at the price point, they would be around longer, and then every time they'd pop up like a Big Bad Toy Store, and I would be at that point, it just didn't work out. But I didn't buy the San Diego Comic-Con, or I keep saying San Diego Comic-Con, the PowerCon exclusives, but pretty much everything since. And I'm excited for the line. Again, I don't buy things for I don't feel that I'm not a diehard completist. If I complete a line, it's because I want everything in the line, not because I feel compelled to own everything in the line. I'm not a man card collector. As this channel continues, you will learn more and more that the financial aspect of toys is not why I'm in on this. I love these characters. I love these figures. They are little pieces of art to me. I felt that way since I was a kid. And I just love having them physically in my possession. But it's not a compulsion to own every single one or to complete a line. And if you feel the opposite, if you're in it for, if it's an investment for you, or if you are a completist and you must own everything and everything must be 100% vintage and no repro, cool. Like, that's good for you. I have no problem with that. Just saying, for me personally, I don't feel compelled to. There's no compulsion on me, on my end, to own every single item produced by a toy line, unless I just happen to love every single thing. And a lot of times that's the case. Say like Sectars. I love everything Sectars. Like, Sectars was a cool line to me. I think, the down to the figures themselves, those insects, the riding insects, those glove insects, down to that incredible playset. Like, yeah, I would own everything because I think it's all cool. But anyways, we're getting off topic. Either way, my point is just, look, it's okay to not like something. We all have opinions. We all have things that we like and dislike. Awesome. There's no problem with that. But the only thing that I would say to sort of reconsider is the fact that allow things to exist that you don't necessarily like, especially if that thing is going to support a brand or property that you like and is intended to grow and create new audiences for that thing you like, because ultimately that's just going to help those toy companies keep producing the things that you love. But again, use your voice, use your money, stand behind the things that you believe in and the things that you like, and then do not financially support the things that you don't like or don't want to support. To me, it's that simple. And as the motto of this channel, as I say goodbye, is, again, thanks for watching. Click like and subscribe. And remember, support the things that you love. Thanks, guys.